I'm not going to lie, I'm ready for a bit of sunshine. Oh well, a bit of rain's a good test for this overpriced bin liner I'm wearing. So I've got a backpack full of gear, all of which at some point I've been told is either way overpriced or even a complete waste of money. So in this video I'm going to dig into whether camping gear really is a waste of money and if it is way too overpriced. So most people go about their day, they don't think twice about spending £4 on a coffee served up in a paper cup or paying for their Netflix or Sky subscriptions. But if you spend £120 for marching around in some mud, or £800 on a one-man tent, yep, £800, they think that that is a complete waste of money. I don't know about you, but I think that camping gear gets a bit of a raw deal when it comes to people complaining about how much things cost. So I've got this theory, so bear with me. If you're a photographer, no one bats an eyelid at the price of a lens. Or if you're a cyclist, you can drop £4 on a bike and no one thinks it's a waste of money because it's your hobby. But when it comes to camping and backpacking, you're supposed to be roughing it, aren't you? So everything needs to be cheap and basic. This isn't a moan, it's more of an observation that on the surface some camping gear does seem kind of expensive for what it is. So here's a really good example, the Jetboil skillet. This costs between £40 and £50 for a camping frying pan. Seems ridiculous. You do get a fancy spatula though. It comes with a little bag if you don't lose it like I have. I could go to Home Bargains and buy a frying pan for £5 that would do a job for frying my eggs and cooking my steak in, but the non-stick coating on this, second to none. Never had anything stick on it, cheese, meat or anything. And for me, it's the perfect frying pan. So yeah, I do think it is overpriced, but value is subjective, so I really like this bit of kit and I have no regrets in buying it. Now these, on the other hand, I can't argue. I would say it is overpriced and an unnecessary purchase. I don't know the exact price for a spoon set. I think it's about 12, 15 quid, something like that. And I got this because it matches everything. So sometimes you pay over the odds for getting something that matches the kit that you've already got. But is it worth the money for a bit of plastic? And you can have something like this. This was £2 I think, and it will do pretty much exactly the same. You're always going to get bits of gear that can do a similar job for a cheaper price. The amount of times that I've been told that the 20 quid Jetboil knockoffs are just as good, I wish I had a quid for every time. And no matter what these people say, the 20 quid ones, they're just not quite up to it. So these two stoves are a really good example. This one costs about £10. It's just a simple canister stove. And this one's the MSR Pocket Rocket 2, which costs about £40. Very similar in design. In good conditions, both will boil your water, but the MSR, much more powerful, much more efficient. It's an all-round, much better stove. This will do a job if there's no wind, but it's just a cheap stove. And it's all about choosing the product for your needs. And if the cheaper £10 stove works for you, then that's perfectly fine. Save your money and don't go buying the expensive stuff. Cheap doesn't always mean good value. I've had stuff that's broken after the first time I've used it. That's definitely a waste of money. If it's your hobby and your passion and it makes you happy, then I don't see a problem with spending that little bit more money, even if the missus doesn't think it's good value for money. So there are other factors that come into play when it comes to the price of camping and backpacking gear. Product innovation and the cost of the material does have an impact. So take this coat for example. It's made of Gore-Tex material, which is one of the most expensive waterproof materials you can get. So companies like RAB can only make jackets under license from the Gore-Tex company, and products are only approved for sale after rigorous testing. So all of these things add to the price of the final garment. And the material isn't any more waterproof than a bin liner, however it is more breathable. So although we all like a bargain, sometimes buying these cheaper products can have a really harmful effect when it comes to small innovative companies. Two really good examples of this are Mountain Laurel Designs and Emberlit Stoves. So the original Emberlit stove was made and designed over in America and would set you back about $30 or $40 at the time. It was a brilliant little design and they sold quite a lot of them. And then some of these big corporations in China just blatantly stole the design, copied it, started knocking them out for a tenner at a time. MLD had exactly the same problem with their Trail Star shelter, copied in China using cheap, inferior materials and knocking them out at a fraction of the cost. And us buying these bargain copies are putting genuine businesses out of business. I see it week in, week out, where great products are being copied and knocked out at a fraction of the price, and then everybody seems to think that the original product is overpriced or a waste of money. The Nature Hike Cloud Peak 2 or the Hilleberg Solo or Alac, they do look very similar from a distance, but they really are worlds apart when it comes to strength, quality and the way that they've been manufactured. So that £800 tent for one person, it might seem overpriced, but and for most people they don't need to spend that kind of cash. But there are situations when you need that kind of product to do a certain job. And I think that's why when you see the prices of those two items, that the Hilleberg can seem way overpriced and a waste of money. I suppose if you're out camping every week in your Hilleberg Solo with no wind, no rain, it'll do the same job as the Nature Hike Cloud Peak 2. So it's not that something is overpriced, it's more a case of we buy things that we don't really need that amount of specification on them. So for the most part, 95% of the camping that I do, you could do in a Nature Hike Cloud Peak 2. But I do camp on summits and in snow, so it's nice to have the security that your tent's going to stand up to the job. And that's where something like a Hilleberg comes into its own. There does come a point though where some of the performance or weight gains that you're going to get, they don't relate to the increase in the price. So up to a point you tend to get what you pay for. So the more that you pay, you tend to get better quality materials, maybe more stronger or durable, or they may be lighter and more packable. But it gets to a point where something could be £200 more just to save 200 grams. And at that point, you as an individual have got to make the decision if that's good value for you. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's your money, your hard-earned cash. You spend it on what you like, whether somebody else thinks it's a waste of money or not. There are other factors to consider when it comes to price, but the last one that I'm going to talk about in this video is the brand reputation. There comes a point when this little logo means that you can add a premium when it comes to your goods, basically. So Rab have been making good quality outdoor equipment since around the 1970s. They built up a really good reputation, and for that they're allowed to add a premium to the prices on their clothes and camping gear, etc. But I see prices going up every single day. So companies like Outkit, for example, they used to be a lot more competitively priced, but they built up a great reputation for quality goods, so now they can increase their prices a little bit. Companies like Nature Hike that were selling Cloud Peak tents for £110 or whatever are now selling them for £180. Building up a reputation for good quality gear means that they can charge a little bit more. Whether that is good value for money or not, that's up to you to decide.